Hello and welcome back to West London Sport on YouTube. I'm Dan Bennett. I'm here with former Rangers striker Kevin Gallen and my West London Sport colleague Ian McCullough for another QPR discussion. Guys, we're going to start this week with something interesting, or some interesting comments that the Blackburn manager Tony Mowbray said after QPR obviously got another win on Saturday at home. Quite interesting, sort of picking out Rob Dickie as almost like a weak point in the QPR team, which was a bit of a surprise because we've all been, like we've spoken about before, we've all been pretty impressed with Dickie's performances so far this year. So I'll just read you what he said. Said he plays strengths against perceived weaknesses. Dickie's a very good footballer, but he can't run like Armstrong can. He said you put speed against no speed, and I think we damaged them. We got into some great areas, just didn't take our chances. You put him where their slowest defender is, and we tried to expose the lack of mobility of both central defenders of QPR. Kevin, does that surprise you a little bit, those comments? Would you have thought of Rob Dickie as something they were going to pick out before the game?
Look, I think it's harsh for him to say that. I don't think he needs to say that. Look, I think Blackburn lost the game. It was a very tight game. It was a good game. And I sort of know what he's trying to say, but I don't think he needs to say it because Armstrong is quick. And one thing we have said over the past few weeks that Dickie isn't like lightning quick, but he's got decent pace, but his positioning is pretty good. But he's very good on the ball. He wins his headers, but I can sort of understand what he's saying. I just don't think there's any need to say it, to be honest. Yeah, sometimes you lose 1-0. You sort of take your medicine. You just say, yeah, it was a tight game. We didn't take a chance of this, that and the other. For him to sort of pick out Rob Dickie, I think there's no need for it. It's a bit harsh.
It's interesting because obviously he does say that Dickie's a very good footballer. So he obviously rates him. He's not, tearing him apart and saying he's a bad player. I think just the lack of pace was kind of an area obviously they look to strengthen. And to be fair, I wouldn't say he said it didn't work because they didn't score, which I suppose, yeah, but I wouldn't say it didn't work because we did see Armstrong get in a couple of times down that side. And if there was a bit of better finishing, we probably would have seen Blackburn get something from that game. But I mean, Ian, you've praised Dickie up a lot before. You've been really impressed with him. How did you assess his performance against Armstrong? Because, let's be honest, he's probably not going to come up against too many better players this season. And does that concern you at all that other managers are picking out him as a target for to try and get at?
No, not really. But you said last week that Tony Mowbray is a really good manager, and the worst game Dickie's had this season was up at Ewood Park, where Armstrong really did run him ragged. So I completely understand where he's coming from and what he said. He's obviously not happy because they'd lost the game afterwards. So the comments were a little bit harsh. But I think he was defending the fact he was getting some stern questions from the Blackburn reports about, why did you not play Armstrong through the middle? So, I think that's what he was responding to. But, in the first half, he was getting some joy on the right. And I think it's testament to Dickie's improvement across the season that, he stood with him. And he had a couple of hairy moments in the first half, as you mentioned, the ball he squared back that Harvey Elliott put over the bar. If that goes in, then it could be a completely different game. But the second half in particular, I thought it was a really good battle between two very good players. I think Armstrong's a tremendous player. He's a really, really good player. And I don't think he'll come up against a better player this season. That direct and that movement. And, he's a really, really smart player. And I think he'll be in the Premier League sooner rather than later, whether it be with Blackburn or someone else. So I understand what he was saying, but I agree with Kev. He didn't really need to say it, but I don't think he should be. He's been lampooned by certain Blackburn fans and some QPR fans for what's he talking about. But I completely understand why he did it and what the plan was. And I thought Rangers defended pretty well and against a really good side and ground one out. And defensively they've looked a lot better this season.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to match up, wasn't he? Basically, what Tony Mowbray was trying to do. He was obviously trying to get at the sort of the lack of pace that there is maybe in the back line. And Armstrong is, like you said, Kevin, I don't think Dickie's necessarily slow. I think that would be harsh, but I think it's just because Armstrong's so quick, isn't it? It's a lot of players would look slow against him.
I understand what Tony Mowbray's tactics are. when I played up front, I would never if I was playing up front on my own or even in the two, and then even if I was playing now. So just saying, for example, or playing against Liverpool, and you got Gomez on the right hand side, and you got Van Dijk on the left hand of the defence. I'm not going to park myself and have a battle with Van Dijk. I'm going to go on Gomez because I know I'm going to get more joy. That's no disrespect because Gomez is a good player. But Van Dijk's probably the best centre half in the world. So you sort of, that's like just me in my head. So Tony Mowbray technically thinks Rob Dickie is not the quickest, but Adam Armstrong might be able to outrun him. And I can understand what his tactics are. Don't agree that he had to say it. And I didn't know that he was getting questioned by the Blackburn journalist. So that's why he's come out. But yeah. I don't agree you need to say it. But it's just tactics. I mean, if you've got a weak link, if the opposition have got a weak link in their team, you really need to go and punish that weak link. So if you're the opposition, so do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure QPR were playing Rotherham on Saturday, and they might be thinking, well, I don't know, the left back or the right back is really a bit of a weak link. Let's get the ball down the left or the right hand side and really go to town on them. It's just normal tactics when you're playing in football, in professional football.
Yeah, like I said, like Armstrong did get some joy, and that Harvey Elliott chance was massive. I think he should really be scoring there. So he did have some success with that tactic. But Ian, do you think that other teams will try and do similar things for the rest of the season, given that they look at, obviously a lot of clubs don't have a player as good as Armstrong is, but do you think we might see some more teams maybe try and put a quick player against Rob Dickie to try and have a bit of joy during the game?
Yeah, maybe. But they might look at the way Dickie played against Armstrong and think, well, maybe. Because, you know, he didn't, I wouldn't say he come out on top. I say it was probably honours even.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, was he?
I mean, there was a foot race in the second half, and Dickie kind of, you know, held it up quite well against him, I thought, on the left flank. But sorry.
QPR play three at the back. So when I played against a three at the back, the real space is down the channels. It's not through the middle. So you have to make runs into I used to hate playing against three at the back because there was no sort of space in the middle. And I wanted to stay in the middle because when you're in the middle, that's where the goal is. But you end up making runs into the channel and in the channels. And he probably just thought that Armstrong would have more joy coming in from the left onto his right foot than playing on the right coming in. Do you know what I mean? Taking Barbet on and coming in and shooting on his left foot. I don't think it's mate. I don't think Rob Dickie or QPR should be. I think Rob Dickie's had a really good season. Like we said, he ain't going to come up against a quick player like Armstrong, a quick, clever player like Armstrong every week. I don't see it as a major problem for QPR anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, they kept a clean sheet, didn't they? So it's not like it impacted them too much. It was just on a couple of occasions that Armstrong did manage to get the better of him, and on another day, they probably would have scored a goal at least. Ian, do you think the back three formation, since they've gone to that, do you think that's kind of suited Dickie more? Because we've seen a lot of other teams, sort of like when England did it in the World Cup, it was sort of, I think, to kind of help out Harry Maguire almost, wasn't it? Because they know how much of a good defender he is, but maybe he doesn't have the pace, so they move it to kind of a back three. I mean, do you think that's kind of helped him out a little bit since they've done that?
Not so much Dickie. I think Dickie was playing at a high standard in a four, but I think he certainly helped out Barbet, who looks a different player playing in a three. He looks, he's always been, a nice footballer, so to speak. But we've mentioned on here before that defensively he turns off and could be, a bit of a liability. But he's been pretty good the last sort of 6 weeks since they changed the formation. And we again, as we mentioned, Jeff Cameron moving back into the centre of defence takes him out of the midfield, and the midfielders look better since Johansson's gone in there. So the team just looks better. The players they've got, they're more suited. It suits their skill sets almost to play with what they have. But just looking at some stats I saw the other day, that this time last year they played 27 matches and in 51 goals. This season it's 27. They've conceded 32. So the introduction of Dickie and Dieng as well has made a massive difference. It's just the other end of the field where they've not been as prolific in front of goal. But I guess that is progress, because the narrative always was that Mark Warburton can't set up a side with a strong defence. But this season they've been so much better. Certainly, in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks at least.
Yeah, it's quite strange, isn't it? I didn't really see it coming, to be honest. Obviously, I watched a lot of games last season. I watched a lot of games this season, and they are a different team. Obviously, they have lost some big players. Like obviously they've lost Eze, and now Bright's gone as well. So I guess they have lost a little bit of that attacking spark that maybe they had. And obviously Bright's sort of been in and out of the team, hasn't he, this year? He's not really been obviously in as much as he was last season. So it is kind of strange that they've sort of improved at one end of the pitch, but lost a bit of firepower and a bit of skill at the other end is quite strange. And you mentioned those stats there. I think the 32 goals against, I looked earlier, ranks them 16th in the league for goals against, which isn't, amazing. It's pretty average, really. But compared to where they were last year, they were probably second or third from bottom, I'd say, for most of the year. I'm not sure where they finished, but it would have been in the bottom 3 or 4, I imagine, for goals against. So they've certainly improved in that area. And then you just got to look at the last 5 games. They've only conceded 2 goals, which has really been the big reason behind this good run of form. Kevin, what do you think's kind of, obviously we touched on a bit already there, but what's been behind this big defensive improvement that they've had this year?
Well, we're talking about how Barbate's improved, but you've actually got an extra defender in, so you're gonna approve if you put an extra defender in. But it's actually suited the way we've got the players we've sort of got now, because Wright's gone. He wasn't really a wing back, but he was doing a decent job. We've got Wallace playing on the left wing back, not really a wing. He's more of a left back, but it suited Todd Kane because he's better going forward. He's got good athleticism. He's better going forward than actually defending. And then it gives you the option, and every fan always talks about playing 2 strikers up top. And Austin's come in, he's give the place a lift. If you put the ball in the box, if he gets on the end of it, he'll score. Chair's doing well. He's still got that position where he's just in behind the front 2. And the 2 midfielders where Don Ball, now that suits the way he plays, sort of holding midfield player. And Johansson's just a good football player. We've all known that. And he can run on a little bit more and a bit more of a playmaker. So all in all, it sort of suits the players that we got. That at the end of the day, I think Senny Dieng coming in has been outstanding. He's been outstanding this season. I mean, he really has made some really, really good saves at crucial times. And when you've got someone like that who can do that, it can make the big difference in games. Now, if it was at the free kick, he made a great save in the first half. I mean, that goes in 1-0 down at home. We haven't been doing too well at home. The whole thing changes. And I think the percentage of the team that score first never sort of loses in the Championship is massive. It's like 70, 80% the team that scores first. And that was a crucial goal that Barbet scored. I think also when you're sort of got a bit of form, a little bit luck comes into it. The ball drops to Barbet, just rolls it in the back of the net. And then the Dickie, I know I'm not saying it's lucky, but the Dickie block near the end, I mean, if Armstrong just puts it a yard to the other side, he just rolls it in, and he doesn't, and Dickie comes out looking brilliant with a great block. So I just think a little bit of form, a more, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Form and confidence. The word's confidence. The team looks more confident now. We would have lost that game in December, but we come away with a 1-0 win. And it's got to give credit to the manager as well, because he's changed the formation. I know we told him to, and it took him a month, but he changed it, and fair play to him, because a lot of managers have no plan B. And he's gone from a 4-3-3 for how long? 18 months. And he's decided, well, I need to do something at the back here. And he's gone for a 3-5-2, and fair play, it's working really well for him.
That's been the big criticism of his whole career, Mark Warburton, is that he doesn't have a plan B. That was the big thing the Rangers, not Queen's Park Rangers, at Glasgow Rangers went to when he was in charge of them, that he didn't have a plan B. But I think fans were on at him for a while, QPR fans, to try to change the system and to do something a little bit different, and he held off for quite a while. And then obviously, like you said, he deserves a bit of credit because he's actually done that now, and the results have improved as a result. But I think a lot of the reason why he didn't change it earlier was just not, like he said, that Bon and Dykes hadn't played together and they didn't have Charlie Austin at that point. I just don't think he felt comfortable putting those two up front together when they hadn't trained together. And I don't know, I just don't think he really felt he had the players to do it. And he just felt, even though obviously the 4-3-3 they were playing, the formation they're playing wasn't really working. He felt obviously maybe it was going to be better than switching out. But I think Charlie Austin coming in, obviously he's got another centre back now in Deweese as well coming in, who's going to give him a bit more flexibility, is a big reason as to kind of why he's been able to change it. But Ian, obviously Kevin touched on it there about Seny Dieng, and we've praised him up before. I think he's arguably been the biggest factor behind the improved defence last year, because I don't know how many goals QPR conceded from goalkeeper errors last year, but it was a lot. They weren't all to blame, it was the defence as well, but sort of just basic, he does make good saves as well, like eye catching ones, but he also just does the basics really well, like he catches well, he makes the basic saves, and he just looks confident. I think that instills confidence in the team as well. And I know you've been really impressed with that and what he's done this year. Yeah,
it's just the way he takes crosses. He doesn't seem to drop any. He just comes out.
He dropped one actually against Blackburn, didn't he? He dropped one. That was the first time I've ever seen him.
He did actually. He scored one on Saturday.
Yeah, a little bit. I thought, are we going back to what we've seen before?
Everyone's scapegoat Lee Wallace got him out of jail, but
yeah.
But by and large, he's just. I mean, it's obvious, really. If you've got a good goalkeeper, the team's better. But I mean, Kevin, how much aside from the obvious, what does having someone that's you can rely on as a goalkeeper bring to a team? When you were playing, the likes of Stage Gal, these kind of guys, what kind of steady presence at the back?
But it's always going to be. It's very rare where a team playing against ain't going to have a chance or a shot on goal. And if you've got the confidence that the goalkeeper, unless someone scores a worldie, you know what I mean? You're like, he's I'm not saying he's brilliant, but he's doing the basics so well, as in he's saving the ones that he should save. Yeah. And then he's saving the ones that, wow, that's a really good save. Do you know what I mean? And it just, Brian Clough, we go back to Brian Clough, he signed Peter Shilton, and he said, look, this is my best sign I've ever made. He's the best goalkeeper in the world. I'm not saying Seny Dieng, but if you've got someone, it's like having a goal scorer. It's just like, do you know what I mean? If you've got a great goal scorer and a great goalkeeper, I think you're halfway there.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And you've said that there, Ian, about Lee Wallace. I mean, we've kind of been a bit critical of him at times in the left back situation at the club, and said that obviously that it's something that they need to address. But to be fair to him, since that penalty against Watford that he was sort of at fault for, that obviously Jeff Cameron gave away, I think he's stepped up pretty well. Like he's been solid. And you mentioned obviously when Dieng dropped that there, he was instinctively, like defensively, he was just there to stick his leg in and save a possible goal, really. I think obviously he deserves a lot of credit, and we've obviously spoke as well about Johan Barbe and him stepping up in this back three. I mean, I think those guys, do you think they deserve a lot of credit for the kind of improvement that they've made recently to help the team go on this run?
Yeah, I mean, let's not, let's be honest about it. They still need a left back in the summer. They still have to sign one. But if you can get through the end of the season with Wallace, yeah, fine. He's done okay. He's done what you'd hope he would do. He's an experienced defender, do the basics right. He was on the spot to clear the ball when he had to at the week. Yeah, he did okay. He was fine. He got bailed out a few times by Barbe. When Gallagher, I think it was, got in behind him for Blackburn. But yeah, he's fine. He did okay. He's played 2 games and they've won both games. So he's helping out the team. But shouldn't take away from the fact that in the summer they've got to go out and find someone that's an upgrade on what they already have. But credit to him. He's done okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure how old Wallace is now, but obviously he's definitely coming towards the end of his career. So I think that should be the number one priority when the new.
I think he's out of contract. I think he's out of contract at the end of the season as well. So
yeah. So they definitely need someone in that department. Obviously, we spoke about Seny Dieng, Kevin, about how well he's done, and a lot of that was obviously from the loan spell he had at Doncaster, and how much experience he got there, and he managed to get into the team and do really well. And we're actually seeing another young player, QPR doing really well in Olamide Shodipo at Oxford United. He's had a great spell this season. He's only 23, so he's got 8 goals in 19 games, and he's really impressed. And he didn't really get given a chance when he was still at QPR. You know, I think Mark Warburton spoke about he was pretty desperate to get him out on loan and get him that experience. But he's playing really well at, you know, albeit a lower level. It's only one below, you know, the Championship. I mean, could he be another big player for QPR coming on if he carries on like this?
Well, he's a winger, so the way we're playing at the moment won't suit him, because I'm not sure he would be a wing back, but he has got ability. And look, he's gone on loan to Oxford, and like you just said, he scored a lot of. That's great. He scored 8 goals. He's 23. Look, when you get to 23, you can't be just not playing football. You need to, if you're not playing at one club, you've got to go out and try and prove yourself at another club. Will he have a future at QPR? Well, the Oxford loan has done him the world of good, and QPR will have to make a decision. I don't think he'll be leaving. I don't know how long his contract up, but they'll take him back in the summer, and then they'll probably reevaluate what kind of system QPR are going to play. Because, you know, Willock's come in as a winger. We're now not playing wingers. Albert Adoma's come in as a winger. We're not really playing wingers. So Shodipo comes in. That's 3 wingers, and we're not playing wingers at the moment. And that doesn't mean we won't go back to that next season. But the way it's sort of going at the moment, we look solid, and I think it would be silly to change, especially at this. I'm not saying for next season, but especially from now to the end of the season, I think it would be silly to change the system, because we're getting results. And if we hadn't got those results in the last, you know, month, and with all the teams below us, you know, and we're still a little bit looking over our shoulders, but I don't think we'll get sucked in. But if we hadn't got them 4 wins out of 5,
yeah,
no, we'd have been right in I think in the bottom 3. So it's a difficult one for the manager, because Shodipo comes back, we've got 3 wingers, but we're not playing wingers. What are we going to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, isn't there, as well? I mean, we don't know if Mark Warburton's going to be the manager next season, for one. You know, we don't know what formation they're going to play. If they're obviously, like you said, if they're playing wing backs, then Shodipo is not really suited to that role. He needs to play out wide. But I mean, Ian, if he's playing like this, and they've got him on the books, he should have a role at QPR, right, next season. It's got to be an obvious, right?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, is he better than Willock? Is he better than we don't? It's one of them. You get players where maybe he's doing well at Oxford. If someone comes in and offers £1 million for him, do you bite the bullet and say, yeah, okay, we'll sell you? You don't know, do you? It's a tough one. He's never really shown he looks good enough to play in the Championship when I've seen him, to be honest. But I was talking to someone who used to work at QPR quite recently, and you couldn't find anyone that would have said Seny Dieng would be as good as he is 3 years ago. It's a bit like Harry Kane at Tottenham. No one at Spurs 10 years ago thought Harry Kane would be what Harry Kane is now. So players develop, loan spells do help. I don't know what they'll do, but yeah, it's a nice problem. It's a nice problem to be in.
Yeah, it's a good thing either way. If they sell him, whatever, it's, you know, to have a player doing that well on loan is good.
Depends how long his contract. I don't know how long his contract up, but they might get an offer from someone, and they might, like Ian said, do you know what? He ain't really suited for the way we play at the moment. He's not going to play. Maybe we'll sell him and use that money to get a left back in. So whatever he's doing out there is better than him sitting in the under 23s at QPR.
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
It's a bit like Armstrong, you know, who we mentioned at Blackburn. He's at Newcastle. He can't get a game. Obviously, he's good enough, and they didn't want to lose him. But at some stage, you have to let guys go, because they're not going to get in your first team. They're no good in the 23s. You might as well try and cash in.
Yeah, it's not fair on the kid either.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, Rotherham up next for QPR. It's certainly a winnable game, but I mean, I've been looking at their recent form, and they're actually on a fairly decent run. Rotherham, they've got a few wins together recently, and they've got themselves out of trouble slightly. I mean, they're still down there. Obviously, their main aim will be to stay up this season. Well, I mean, people probably look at Rotherham as like one of the most winnable games, Kevin. But do you think it's going to be tougher than a lot of people will expect?
Well, you know, it's going to be tough. Definitely, you're playing away from home, up north, freezing. They'll be thinking Southern. I've heard it all my life. Southern softies are coming up. Let's get stuck into them early. It's definitely a winnable game, especially with the way we're playing. We can get the ball down and control the game like we have been doing, like we did against Watford, where we control the possession. Then I think we'll come out with it with a good result. They're going to go for it. There'll be long balls. There'll be a bit of a bombardment. The game at Loftus Road a few months, or was it in October? I can't remember. Time's flying weird at the moment, but it was October, November, and I thought they were a very bang average team. But they nearly nicked the draw in the end because we got really sloppy at the end. I expect us to get a good result tomorrow. Sorry, on Saturday.
Yeah, a bit of news coming out today there, Kevin, is that Dykes is obviously 50-50 to play because he got that knock on the head against Blackburn that looked a bit nasty, and I don't think he's really trained much this week. I think he'll be a bit of a miss because he's sort of cemented himself as the second striker, hasn't he, alongside Charlie Austin?
I mean, I found it very strange, and it worked out in the end, but Warburton left himself a little bit open by dropping Macaulay Bomb, because it's very strange where a manager get probably the best result of the season away at Watford, and he makes one change, and you're thinking, and all the lads will be thinking, why is he changed? I would be thinking, so why change a winning team? Unless it's like Charlie Austin comes in or something. Why change a winning team? He left himself open. We won 1-0, so he sort of got away with that because everyone would be saying, what's going on? Why has he changed the winning team? I don't think if Macaulay Bond comes in, other than Lyndon Dykes, there's much difference, to be honest, to partner Charlie.
Big chance for him as well, I suppose. I mean, he's had a few opportunities to come in this year and maybe not done quite as well as he'd hoped. But Ian, do you think this is a big game to kind of like set the tone for the rest of the season? Because if they win, there's a good chance they could get up more towards the top half of the probably not going to the top half, but they'd be closer to it. It's kind of a good chance to just cement themselves as a mid-table team rather than a team that's going to be struggling down the bottom to stay in the division.
Yeah, most definitely. Kev's mentioned all the things I would have said. Tough game up north, etc. But yeah, it's a winnable game. I mean, it sets you up nicely for the game against Brentford if they win Saturday, and it's a nice run. Keep it going. There's no reason. I've always thought this team's better than where they were in the table. There's no reason why they can't be a upper mid-table. And I've always said you want to see progress each season. If you finished 13th last year, try and finish 11th, 10th this year. So yeah, why not? What's
your prediction for the game?
With me?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a scrappy 2-1 to QPR.
Was it more positive than last week anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, we're both too negative. Clearly, I predicted they'd lose as well. So I think we need to be a bit more positive. What do you think, Kevin? Think they'll get a win?
I think 1-0 QPR. And just coming to my mind is what QPR definitely has improved on in the last month, 6 weeks, which they weren't doing in November, December. We've improved in both boxes, defensively and attacking wise. We've always been pretty good in that middle third where we pass the ball around and understanding keeping possession and creating chances. But what has let us down before in the season, we were conceding goals, we weren't defending the box properly, and we weren't taking our chances. And at the moment, that has improved massively, and that is why I think we'll get a 1-0 win.
Yeah, I fancy him to get a win as well. I'll probably say 2-1. I mean, it's away from home, and I fancy Rotherham to score, but yeah, I think 2-1 win. That'd be, like I said, set the West London derby up very nicely. If you enjoyed this,
but once they're playing quite well away from home as well. I think it'd be 4 in a row away from home.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's their away
run. Ever happening?
Yeah,
record.
It must be up there, mustn't it?
I think my record at QPR away from home was 1 in a row.
Definitely a lot better than previous years, anyway. Yeah. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel, and we'll be back again soon.